Hello.
Hello.
Welcome everyone. Welcome to Community Voices, a conversation with Lift New York parents. I'm so excited to be here with you all today. Yes, indeed. Today is also Tuesday, a once in a lifetime milestone, as all the numbers line up to create 22222. I've heard that it won't happen again for another 200 years. My name is Siomara Romain, and I am the VP of Organizational Impact and the proud Executive Director of Lift New York. A little bit about Lift for those of you who may not be familiar with our work. The New York chapter was founded in 1999 as part of Lift, which is a national organization. Our mission is to break the cycle of poverty by investing in parents. Lift New York's one-to-one coaching program helps parents set and achieve goals, such as going back to school, improving their credit, eliminating debt, or securing a living wage that put their families on a path to economic mobility. And so we advocate for policies that centers the voices of low-income families and partner with different systems like community colleges and local and national governments to deliver our services across the US. At Lift, we believe in investing in parents is truly investing in the future. So why are we here today? We're here because the economic impact of the pandemic has threatened the health and well-being of our families across the nation, and is particularly consequential for the nation's 77 million children ages 18 and under. For many of our parents, the pandemic has affected family employment, caregiving, financial decisions, and created material hardship. Our storytelling salon series represents our commitment to continuing to learn and to heal and to provide justice. We seek to engage the community and to elevate the voices of our parents directly so that they can share in their own words the important issues they are facing during the pandemic and beyond. Through these conversations, we hope to center our storytelling in the strength and self-efficacy of our members and to disrupt the harmful narratives that frame families as weak and as nonprofits as saviors. Today, you'll hear from three extraordinary women, Blanca, Shaniqua, and Shaquana, as they share their stories of resilience and challenges as well as triumph. Without further ado, I want to introduce you to our moderator, Deborah Lee Santos. She is a journalist, a writer, an editor whose work centers on the political and civic interests of our time. She currently serves as the editor-in-chief of the award-winning Manhattan Times, as well as the Bronx Free Press. Deborah Lee, take it away.
There we go. Thank you, Siomara, for that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I want to make sure that I am being heard, as we are going to hear from the women that you've just so brilliantly profiled as emblematic of the work that the organization does. As you mentioned, I'm the editor and publisher of the Manhattan Times and the Bronx Free Press. I am a Bronx native, very proud of my roots in a community that is known for its resilience and its perseverance. And we are, in fact, the only two bilingual community media outlets in the city and in the metropolitan area. So our communication really helps to transcend some of the barriers that exist in terms of language and communities, and sometimes the interests that we tend to not recognize as shared. Much of our work is done to make sure that those that's transcended by our ability to communicate in both languages, and sometimes even more than that. So thank you for the opportunity to join you this morning. Muchísimas gracias por permitirme estar con ustedes hoy día. And really, we're here to hear from stars, from the stars among us and the stars of our communities. So I appreciate the opportunity to share with you really as nothing more than a vehicle to hear from the women this morning, this afternoon rather, who are going to speak directly from their own stories, their own lives, and their own successes. And I believe we start with Blanca. Blanca, can you hear me? ¿Me escucha?
Sí, la escucho.
Perfecto.
Hi, good
Entonces,
morning.
buenos
Sí.
días, buenos días. Sabemos que usted va a compartir con nosotros hoy, Blanca Mateo. Usted tiene una historia que es particular en esta organización. Your story is very unique in terms of this organization, and your history has been one of more than one shared experience with Lyft. It's been one of a continuum, es una continuación. Usted ha tenido varios instantes de comunicación e interacción con la organización. Y queríamos más que nada oír de usted.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Blanca. Soy de Guatemala, vivo en el Bronx. Yo conocí el Lyft en el 2016. Llevo muchos años, ya hasta me gradué.
Ok, permítame.
Sí.
Voy a compartir. We're going to be translating simultaneously, so I'm going to be in this awkward position of having to interrupt Blanca, which isn't what I want to do. But Blanca is just explaining that she's from Guatemala, she lives in the Bronx, and that she first came to the organization in 2016 vis-a-vis Jane Goodall. Siga, por favor.
Como les decía, conocí el Lyft en el 2016 con mi niño de 2 años. Era madre soltera en ese tiempo. Cuando yo conocí el Lyft, yo sentí que las puertas se me abrieron de una casa para mí porque mi vida cambió definitivamente. Llegando
Okay.
con... Sí.
Disculpe, para compartir con todos, cuando usted llegó, when she joined Lyft, she in fact was a single mother. And from the moment that she walked through the doors of Lyft, she has felt then and since that her life was transformed and it was changed.
La reunión con mis guías fue para mí tan importante porque cada vez que yo me reunía con mis guías, sentía que yo me podía abrir más a mis necesidades, con mis metas que yo no sabía cuáles eran mis metas. Yo llegaba porque yo quería, como madre soltera, como todas, uno busca una ayuda, un consejo de alguien. Entonces yo llegaba a sentarme y para mí era una gran alegría para que me escucharan.
Okay. One of the things that Blanca describes as the most compelling is that when she first joined as a single mother, of course, she wanted to better the fortunes of her family, but she felt that every conversation she had with her coaches and her mentors there allowed for her to deepen her understanding, one, of her own needs, but also allowed her to be vulnerable and to be able to share more and more what her needs were. So much so that even when she couldn't necessarily identify her needs and say, this is the conversation helped her to structure a better understanding of what she was looking for, that she didn't necessarily have to come in prepared with an agenda, that was part of the coaching and the mentoring that was taking place. Gracias.
Estando un día con mis guías, uno de mis guías me dice, Blanca, tú que tienes, ya tienes varios años de estar con nosotros, ¿qué has logrado tú acá? Y le digo yo, bueno, yo solo he venido y me han escuchado y todo, pero él me dijo, un joven mexicano me dijo, pero tú qué tienes en tu país, tú tienes algo, tienes ahorros. Y me recuerdo que yo le dije, no, yo no tengo nada. Entonces me dijo, ¿cuál es tu meta para hoy tu futuro? ¿Cuál es tu meta principal? ¿O tienes casa? ¿Qué tienes en tu país? Y yo me recuerdo con lágrimas en mis ojos le dije, no, yo no tengo nada, ni tengo ahorros. Y me dijo, ¿te gustaría que hoy en día yo te ayude a que hagamos juntos un proyecto de ahorros? ¿Te gustaría para tu meta al futuro? Yo le dije, ay, sí, con gusto. Y me dijo, te voy a dar las tácticas para que tú vayas aprendiendo. Y así fue.
Entonces, para compartir, ¿no?
Sí.
During one of those conversations, after having spent a number of years with Lyft, a young coach of Mexican origin asked her, what have you been able to accomplish in your mind so far? And she says, well, I'm working on it. I'm sort of in the process. And he went more specifically to her financial state and said, you know, do you have, in your home country, do you have savings? Do you have a home? And with tears in her eyes, she said, no, I don't. And he says, well, would you like to change that? Would you like for that to be something that we can work on together? And if so, I can provide you with some of the strategies and some of the techniques that would allow for you to be able to build up your savings in a way that would change that for you.
Pues de ahí nació el proyecto de ahorrar, de hacer tamales para vender los fines de semana. Trabajaba limpiando casa durante la semana por la mañana. En la tarde me iba a una bakery por 3 días. Así llenaba yo más, cada día más mis sobres. Este sobre lo gané en limpiando casas, este sobre lo hice haciendo tamales y así logré hacer mi ahorro. Logré comprar mi terreno no muy caro. Y hice mi casa, gracias a Dios, a la vuelta de 2 años y medio, hice el ahorro, hice mi casa. Y en el 2019 que yo terminé mi casa, Liv me abrió otra puerta más grande.
Bueno, tremenda noticia, Blanca. No sé cómo podría expresar eso con, and so I just said to her as a side note, what a tremendous piece of news that given that conversation and the process that it began for her in partnership with Lyft, she then again realized a sort of a strategy, an overall strategy that allowed for her to see this vision for herself. And as a result, she essentially compiled sort of a different tiers of income and savings that she could then sort of delineate as she saw fit. And that included selling tamales on the weekend, that included housekeeping, that included work in a bakery. And she would have set aside as per her needs. And of course, with the mind set towards savings, what the income that was coming in from that. And again, that was due in large part to the structure that had been created at Lyft. And within 2.5 years, the conversation that started with, I don't have any savings and I don't have a home in Guatemala, changed to, in 2.5 years, to having purchased ground, terreno, and from there having in fact built a home for her family and for herself within 2.5 years that exists today.
Para mí, cuando yo terminé mi casa en el tiempo de la pandemia, yo creo que como todas las madres como yo, todas hacemos un esfuerzo, invierno o verano, andar con nuestros hijos. Para todas las madres también un impacto también para mí, que como madre, invierno y verano andábamos con nuestros hijos en las carriolas porque queremos hacer algo, lograr algo. Y el impacto para mí, para la pandemia, fue una gran noticia grande cuando Liv me dio la oportunidad a mí de darme a conocer impartiendo cursos de manualidades con las otras mamás, como dándome el trabajo como embajadora de padres. Creo que eso estaba encerrado en mí y Liv me dijo, no, tú puedes, a pesar de mi estatus migratorio, Liv me abrió las puertas para trabajar con nosotros padres, cómo reclutar o traer madres hispanas y no hispanas también a nuestra comunidad de Liv. Creo que eso fue lo más grande para mí porque yo pude abrir esa puerta con ellos y enseñándome que yo no podía computación. Y aquí tenía que usar la computadora, inglés y español. Y el equipo me ayudó mucho a mí, a que yo aprendiera a usar la computadora, a usar programas.
Yeah. So as if that were not enough of a meaningful chapter, her work with Lyft, Blanca explains, also meant that as she moved from having secured savings that led to having home ownership in Guatemala, the pandemic hit, and like everyone, especially mothers, the impact was large, was severe. And as she moved through those paces and began to sort of reassess, Lyft again opened up a new moment of dialogue that sparked in her internally sort of a transformation, that they offered her the opportunity to be a parent ambassador, offered her the opportunity to liaise with other parents, also offered her the opportunity to work with crafts, in teaching crafts and imparting that knowledge. But moreover, it sparked in her a personal sense that she did not need to be, for whatever reason, language barriers, immigration status, the commitments of motherhood and her work did not necessarily need to stay within those roles. And she could be a leader, she could be a teacher, she could be part of a larger community in that kind of role. And that was perhaps locked inside of her, and Lyft allowed for her to leverage that and bring that into the community in a way that has allowed for her to reach out to many other Latino parents and more than Latino parents, and broaden Lyft's community in the process as well.
Gracias a ellos también, hoy yo tuve la oportunidad de firmar un contrato en limpiezas en House and Bigma, una escuela de kindergarten, de primaria. Estoy tan agradecida porque yo sé que tal vez yo no lo hubiera hecho porque antes no hacía nada, y yo soy capaz de decir, yo puedo hacer esto, y lo hago con mucha seguridad. Especialmente hoy me siento segura de mí misma. También actualmente estoy trabajando como embajadora de padres en una charter school donde estudia mi hijo. Tengo la oportunidad de abrirme más, de ir a otro daycare, a comunicarme y a darme a conocer lo que yo sé hacer. Gracias a Dios y gracias a ellos.
So thanks to God and thanks to Lyft, Blanca again reiterates that the transformation for her has been as much about the concrete goals of the savings, the home ownership, the conversations that are built on the work that she's doing, that are very tangible and concrete goals. She's signed off on a new housekeeping contract as well. But overall, Blanca realizes and recognizes within herself and outwardly that she is fully confident in her ability and her skills to do her work, to take on new roles and responsibilities, to use her voice, to leverage her knowledge and her skill set as a parent, as a worker, and as a leader. She feels the confidence, and whereas before she might have doubted her ability, her sense of self rather, that has radically been changed, as she says, thanks to Lyft and thanks to God.
Sí, yo estoy tan agradecida que gracias a ellos hoy yo puedo trabajar en mi comunidad compartiendo cursos de manualidades aquí en mi casa. Doy corte y confección, y los fines de semana doy clases de guitarra también a los niños y adultos.
And among the many tasks that she's taken on is she continues to teach manualidades, arts and crafts from her home. She's continued the work that we described just a few moments ago. And then on top of that, como si fuera poco, Blanca también está dando clase de guitarra. She's also imparting classes, guitar lessons ¿son adultos o niños a quien le?
Niños y adultos.
Both children and adults. So Blanca's available for some guitar lessons as well after this session.
Sí, tengo 4 familias que traen sus hijos, vienen los padres y sus hijos. No vienen todos juntos porque por la pandemia yo no admito más de 8 personas en mi casa. Yeah. Pero gracias a Dios tengo la oportunidad de brindarle. Últimamente ha sido todo gratis, no cobro porque no me gusta. Dice, si tú sabes algo, y yo sé que no soy millonaria, pero si yo puedo darle algo a los niños para que no anden los niños en los internet ni anden en otra cosa, prefiero que los niños vengan acá y su mente esté ocupada en otra cosa, porque yo también soy madre, tengo mi niño, y me gustaría que el día de mañana algo que yo no sé, que otra persona me le brinde esa ayuda a mi hijo.
Right. And so touching on the conversation around the guitar lessons, one of the things that she does is she has them in her home and she shares them with adults and children, as she mentioned, families really, and she does it for free because she is committed to ensuring that, given the fact that it's a skill she has and knowledge that she can impart as a mother, she would much rather have the children involved in a new community of learning rather than being perhaps assigned to something on the internet or where it's not as interactive. And to the extent that she as a mother would want for her own child to be touched in a similar way by someone else who has knowledge to impart and can share it generously and willingly, she would like to be able to do that as she does now.
Que si otro padre también me escucha a mí, que quiero decirle que no se quede sentado, que también que busque ayuda, porque cada persona tiene un don diferente para compartir, y como yo lo tenía encerrado, que yo vine acá y si nadie no me pregunta, tú lo sabes hacer, ahí estuviera todavía yo acá. Yo no sé hacer eso, pero compartirlo nada más con mi vecindad, y no es como una organización que te diga, tú puedes hacer eso, tú lo puedes hacer, hazlo, y no importa tu estatus, sino que tú lo sabes hacer, y todo es decisión propia, pero también, como digo, Live es una luz para mí. Me abrió las puertas y yo dije, aquí estoy. Creo que la disponibilidad de cada persona, no. A mí me gusta ser así, ayudar a la otra persona. ¿Por qué? Porque a mí me ayudan. Como yo dije en el Live, tengo un lema que yo dije, buscando el bien del otro, encontré el mío. Y creo que está muy perfecto para mí.
Gracias, Blanca. And so in conclusion, Blanca speaks to the fact that as an organization, Lyft allowed for her to elevate her voice, allowed for her to use her talents and skills. And she would urge any parents who are part of this conversation and any ones that you can reach outside of this moment to encourage them to step up, to step in, and to find that in doing good, you often are frankly transformed yourself. You are changed, and the good that comes from that is invaluable. So it's sort of this chain reaction that Blanca has been a part of. She says that Lyft has been a light, and that they opened their doors and she stepped in. And since then, again, everything's been different.
Algo para terminar, que algo se me olvidó.
Sí, sí, claro.
Al principio, algo muy importante es que Lyft a mí también me brindó la computadora y me brindó para la pandemia mucha ayuda económica y también me ayudaba con la ayuda de los 150 que se dan para los niños de 0 a 2 años. Creo que hoy ya se expandió más, pero antes era así. Yo creo que esa ayuda económica también, como padre, a uno le ayuda mucho a hacer sus ahorros.
Claro. And just as a moment of closing, Blanca wanted to reiterate, it's something that she had mentioned before, the degree to which Lyft was very specifically, concretely available to her with the child tax credit, accessing that, computer and tech training skills, and overall, just particularly in the pandemic, very much strategically, concretely being of help and use to her and her family when it was needed the most, something that she did not want to have missed in her conversation. So, gracias, Blanca.
Sí, gracias a ustedes.
So here we go. Everybody's back. Great. So now we're going to be turning to another one of our participants who will not be needing translation. So you will not need to hear two different voices communicating the same story. But we're listening now to Shaniqua Leverett and speaking directly about her own experiences in the last few years with Lyft, and speaking to how she has, in fact, elevated her own skill set and plugged into the mentoring and coaching skills that are available there, and what has changed for her. So Shaniqua, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, I'm here with my son. I'm just making sure I'm keeping him safe so he can return to school and keep everyone else safe. Good afternoon. My name is Shaniqua Leverett. I am an awesome person. I currently reside in the Bronx. At 45, I'm a mother of 4. I have 3 children over 20. My youngest son is 6. I am a member of Lyft New York, who recently completed the coaching program. I initially came to Lyft in 2019 for financial coaching to help me get my credit score established and learn new skills to help me achieve somewhat of financial freedoms. I initially came for the financial coaching, but it was a very informative class that included a savings account after completion to start me on my credit journey. However, the credit report is what initially brought me to Lyft. I soon realized that Lyft New York was so much more. I have worked in different jobs and obtained different various certificates, although I never found where I fit. I had bigger dreams. I just didn't know where to start and how will I make it work. At the time, I was a personal caregiver to a family member over 100, and not being able to find work outside of that put me in a standstill and also gave me many uncertainties about my life. Oh, I'm sorry. It put me in many uncertainties and then made me put my life into perspective. It was when I started attending one-on-one coaching centers that I learned new skills to aid me in making clear intentions in my life. I also attended various workshops, events at Lyft, workshops with Capital One to help me stay on track regarding my credit score, group meetings with other family members, with other program members and their families. We really enjoyed the office flow as I could spend my time dedicated to myself for the brief moments that I was there. I really felt comfortable with the staff and I didn't have to worry about the baby while at the office. My child was in a loving environment. While at the office, everyone was so attentive. My son especially loved the kids' play area. He could pretend play, build with blocks, and read books while I make decisions on what my next steps in life would be. I had a coach that explained to me things in a way that gave me a better understanding of how first setting goals, doing the work, sometimes many steps will be required to achieve them. Finally completing a task and understanding that it was a process and it would require my best effort. Honestly, setting realistic and obtainable goals, that's the thing that made the difference. The sense of accomplishment made the whole process worthwhile. I also found it very helpful to have a coach because sometimes you don't want to share certain aspects of your life with family or friends. My coach was very easy to talk to, and I always felt supported in my decisions for my future. I was able to set goals that I can obtain in certain timeframes. I remember one of my earliest goals was to renew my license. I was able to, or rather, I'm proud to say that I accomplished my goal before the deadline. That gave me a new incentive in myself. I could start making new goals. Some small steps will ultimately get me to my ultimate goal of obtaining work in the medical field. Unfortunately, some of my goals I did not get to see to fruition. February, March 2020, COVID came and everything was shut down. I could no longer care for my 100-year-old grandmother, so my job was reduced until finally I realized I wasn't able to care for her at all. Out of work, my son has some special needs that included speech therapy. His school closed and his services also stopped. As the world closed, my uncertainties, at times scared, feeling alone, despite the many challenges that come with the day-to-day, Lyft was there. Lyft has provided some financial support that was very helpful to me and my family during that time. I also received a laptop that I could use to work on resumes, look for and apply for jobs. Lyft Bronx has been very instrumental in me making it through that time. Looking forward to our Zoom meeting to continue setting the goals for myself, knowing that what I wanted to accomplish, or just talking about life in general. Some days were good, some days I really felt overwhelmed, but at no days did I give up. It was then I was given an opportunity to take a Microsoft Office class that included Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. I set a new goal for myself to acquire the certificate and to get a new job in a new field. I completed the course and started on a new resume for work. I am also currently pursuing jobs in the office, in offices of hospitals, and I've had a couple of interviews to date. I am confident that I will acquire work soon, and that will help me and my family to thrive in the future. I'm really going to miss my one-on-one sessions as they help me to prioritize my life and give me encouragement along the way. I am proud to say that with my credit skills learned from Lyft New York, I have maintained my credit score in the 700s and well on my way to 800s. I also have a healthy attitude towards saving. I also don't know how I can begin to thank Lyft at New York, the staff, press, present, and for the continued support that I received pre, during, and post-COVID. I have gained so many tools to help facilitate my progress in whichever field or endeavor I pursue. I would like to thank the staff of Lyft, New York, Bronx, New York, for giving me the skills, support, and confidence to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Shaniqua. Really appreciate it. And obviously know that you're handling your son and everything else that you're managing right now, and making the time for this conversation is really important. Thank you for that. Really appreciate your words and the notes about how Lyft specifically was so helpful to you. I know Shaquana, you've been waiting as well. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I want to say congratulations to the women that went before me. That's incredible. You guys' stories are inspiring to me. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for being comfortable to share. My name is Shaquana Graham. I am a Bronx native. I am 33 years old. I'll be 34. I have 3 beautiful children, 5, 10, and today 2, 22. My daughter turns 5. So this day is special to me as well. Thank you. So I wanted to basically talk about my journey with Lyft and how Lyft have helped me in pretty much every aspect that I needed help in. I first joined Lyft, I believe in 2018. I want to say within 2018, 2019. Before I had joined, during the time of me joining Lyft, I was dealing with a domestic violence abuse relationship. So I was really kind of all over the place, and myself, I was battling with depression and anxiety, and I'm just trying to find myself as far as, and I just actually started school with the Bronx Community College, so I just was kind of like all over the place and trying to get myself together. I had a coach named Tiffany. We had a short amount of time together because she had was an intern, but the time with her was wonderful, and she helped me to put some of my goals, my short-term goals, into place. With that being said, I, continued on, and I, gradually went on. I dealt with the death. My abuser was killed. So that was another obstacle that I had to deal with. I dropped out of school. I, focused on trying to get employment for my children and I, and just move forward. But unfortunately, that wasn't something I wanted to do because I wanted to continue to pursue my education. So I went back to school with the strength and with the support of Lyft and others. I was able to go back to school, and I did that. So now we're in 2020 and the pandemic came. So it kind of set a lot back. And then I had no longer had my coach that was Tiffany. I had Petra, which is amazing. I love her. I really love her. She helped me tremendously. So she was there. Lyft was there. Anytime I needed anything, virtually, they were there. Their resources they had were made available to me if I needed any help with the children, as far as with school or anything like that. They were there. And with myself, as far as pertaining and continuing my education with Bronx Community College. Through the time of the pandemic, I was diagnosed with lupus. And was dealing with that, another obstacle that came across my path, but I was, determined, and I persevered. And again, with the support of Lyft and my coach and everyone else, family members and friends, I was able to get that under control and get what I needed as far as my health back on track. I was able to get my credit score. That was one of the goals that I was working on, get my credit to be where it's at now, which is 690, which is really, really good because it was really, really low when I first started. So I still have some progression, but I'm glad that, it's increasing, should I say. So that also was able to obtain my driving permit, which was something I wanted to do. So I accomplished pretty much all of my short-term goals that I had set, and I'm really, really proud of that. I am currently now in a new school, which is for my bachelor's. I transferred out of Bronx Community College, and I'm in Lehman, pertaining my social work degree, and I am fully employed. I work for a company, as you can see, is SCO Family of Services that help intellectual disability adolescents, people that have behavioral issues. So I am in my field of human services and social work that I am doing my degree in, so which is a blessing, and I'm grateful for that. Lyft have helped me not just emotionally, not just financially, but have helped me socially. I also, with being a part of Lyft, was a part of a podcast where I was able to share my personal experience as I'm doing now, but just a little bit more in depth. So I hope you guys look at that. That was really, really something that was accomplishment for me that I did. So I'm thankful for being a part of that. And I did that through Lyft. So yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I know it's a lot to say, but I just want to give thanks to Lyft and again to my coach, Petra. She's awesome. You guys are awesome. So thank you for the support and the help, the resources and everything that you guys do. Continue on keeping the good work up.
Thank you so much, Shaquana. You're self-deprecating to a fault, to say like, that's just me in a nutshell. Like everything you just described was, absolutely just insane. Like any one of those things would be enough to put somebody, flat on their back and just like, what am I going to do next? And yet your description of everything that you've been able to manage in partnership with Lyft is outstanding. Like, congratulations to you and to all of the participants on the panel, Blanca, Shaniqua, like literally, if I could read you all of the comments, I hope you get a chance to, Shaquana, when you have a moment, all of you, to read the comments, because son inspiraciones. Each one of you is an inspiration, and no matter where you are in your life, we all tested, we're all challenged. And particularly as mothers, there's always that added challenge, right, of how to manage your life while also doing the best for your children. And you guys have wonderful stories to share. Thank you for having done it, because it's not easy. It's not easy. So we have a couple of questions that we want to sort of do as a lightning round. And one of the things that has come up as you guys describe your transformation and your process has been really the theme of community. What does community mean to you? Lyft has provided one for you. Lyft has been part of how you expanded your role in your own community. So I thought we would just cycle back and go back to Blanca. Parte de lo que estamos hablando y hemos tocado constantemente como tema es el tema de la comunidad. Entonces, ¿cómo usted describiría para usted lo que es la comunidad?
Para mí, la comunidad es un conjunto de personas con diferentes ideas, diferentes expectativas, con diferentes culturas, pero a la vez todos con el mismo ideal, porque compartimos comida, compartimos escuela, compartimos todo. Para mí es una comunidad con diferentes cosas, pero a la vez con la misma, con las mismas expectativas, porque venimos a luchar y a trabajar acá. Esa es una comunidad para mí. Sí.
So for Blanca, the way that she's described community is that despite the fact that there's such abundant differences in terms of heritages and languages and associations that you have within family, whether you're all here or all, or stretched out over, that fundamentally, that the idea of the striving, the struggle, that everyone is coming together over a shared goal. And clearly, one of the things I would note is that as mothers, each of you has wanted to do more, not just for yourselves, but for your families. So you're talking about vastly different conversations, right? And yet the through line for all of you is that you've realized as women, the work you want to do and how you want to do it. And in part, you're also doing it as you bring your children along for that journey. So, Blanca, lo que acabo de explicar es lo que usted dijo, ¿no? Y también el punto que siendo mujer, no solo es su realización como persona, pero también el hecho de que sigue siendo en todo momento un ejemplar como madre, ¿no? So, Shaquana, I want to just bounce to you real quick because you just finished off. Maybe you could touch on how that expands your own thoughts on community.
Yeah, community means community is everything, because if you don't have the support of community or give the support to the community, then we can't actually prevail and we can't actually push. As far as in the community where I'm at, I'm a part of my children, like the PTA and the women, especially that dealing with the pandemic and shutting everything down. We were supporting and motivating the mothers, to continue on and tell them that we can do it, and you have support. You have someone that's here, that you're not alone. Community means that you're not alone, that we're all in a situation. We all have our stories, but yet we can all come together and be able to help each other. So it's about help, pretty much.
About help. Shaniqua, you're nodding your head. That obviously resonates for you.
Yes, just like Shaquana, I became a member of the PTA to help parents like myself that had issues that they felt no one was listening to. Like with the schools, it was a big thing about closing schools. And, you know, we had a lot of issues because a lot of parents wasn't able to actually stay home with their kids. And it was a lot of back and forth. So besides the confusion and uncertainty about everything, the PTA for me was a way for me to connect with other parents that had the same issues I had, especially with a child with special needs. It's very important that your child receives those services. So when my son's services were cut, I noticed a difference in him, and I had to work with the school to make sure that he can continue on with his services. So in a way, by me involving myself with the community, I'm not only helping us, but I'm helping other parents as well, because there were parents that I would just talk to and they would have issues and wouldn't know who to talk to, what resources, and I would bring them to the table, and I would make, you know, the school community a little stronger. So I'm proud to say that. And as well as having a community feeling, because not all the time you want to express certain things or you feel confident enough to share with certain family members and friends. For me, especially with a lift coach, it was somebody I could talk to about life in general. You know, besides the specific things that we're working towards, you felt a sense of camaraderie. You know, somebody wants the same things I do. Someone's always there encouraging you. When you don't feel as though you can go on yourself, they'll push you. Those are the things that I really appreciated about the program.
I want to thank you. I wanted to also make note of the fact that what you've described is very much a personal conversation for each of you. It's very specific to each of you and your challenges. And at the same time, you are grounded in a community, not just in terms of Lyft, but in a larger community, being a part of the Bronx, being a part of the city, right? And because of that, structurally, there are challenges that are specific to the space you live in, and the community that you are embedded in. As you mentioned, whether it's school, housing, support financially, there are some real structural, specific hindrances in some ways, some barriers that might be unique to the space that you're occupying. And I wonder, and we can go back to Blanca, what you feel needs to be changed in order for your community, for yourself, your family to continue to advance and grow. What would be one concrete, specific change that you would ask be made within that larger community? Entonces, Blanca, brevemente, usted habla de la comunidad y también es parte de una comunidad mayor, ¿no? Lo que es el Bronx, lo que es la ciudad de Nueva York, los Estados Unidos, y dentro de eso hay barreras específicas que contribuyen desafortunadamente a muchos de los retos que tiene usted, ¿no? Entonces, ¿de qué manera usted, si podría cambiar una cosa específica dentro de esa comunidad de la cual usted ocupa, qué usted buscaría cambiar para que su familia y otras familias como la suya puedan progresar?
Bueno, en primer lugar me gustaría que en las escuelas se incorporaran programas para jóvenes, para niños, como arte, la música, y para las niñas manualidades. El deporte creo que sería lo más importante que también pusieran en mi comunidad. Bueno, aparte que tenemos nuestra biblioteca, pero me gustaría que hubieran programas también para adultos. Por ejemplo, hay muchos adultos estancados porque no tienen un título o no saben el idioma. Me gustaría que hubiera toda esa posibilidad, un lugar, un centro donde las personas puedan ir y puedan sacar todas esas cosas que ellos saben. Por ejemplo, los adultos mayores, personas con 25 años acá en los Estados Unidos, la barrera que es el idioma. Pero yo creo que si hubiera esa posibilidad de cambiar y para los adultos, y más hoy para los niños, a mí me gustaría también como involucrarlos en los deportes, porque el internet, lamentablemente a los niños, nuestros hijos se están yendo de nuestras manos, porque ellos quieren estar enfrente de una tablet, en la televisión. Sí.
Para entonces compartir sus puntos. Blanca, in her comments, are focused specifically on how she would look to have programs targeted towards youth, that are enrichment programs, that are targeted towards activities such as crafts, music, art, and sports in particular. She feels, hello. We are joined by two special guests. Hello. Hi.
Hi. My mom was here.
Yeah. We can't talk to your mom without talking to you. Hola. So yeah, so Blanca's comments were specifically centered around the expansion of programs that would be enriching to youth, as she mentioned, arts, crafts, music, art, and sports, but also that there be some kind of central gathering space and activity for adults as well. She feels that the internet in particular, because of the pandemic and just technology, has been able to sort of expand the separation between communities and individual members rather than create more of a liaison. So I wanted to go right to you, Shaniqua, and ask your thoughts on what you feel would be a direct and specific change that would be to the betterment of families like your own.
Well, to kind of like back on Blanca, I think we need like a centralized program geared towards families and the kids. Like right now, like in New York, it's really crazy, especially in my particular part of the Bronx where I live at, is really, and you know, gang inundated and it's violence everywhere. So I think that the kids, we have to start there. I think there should be like certain programs, like community spaces, not only for the kids, but for programs like Blanca said, for arts and learning computers and just literacy. A lot of kids need just basic knowledge, you know, but also a place for us to come together, like family events. The things, the events of the past are no longer. Like the time that we could go and share and have a nice barbecue and, you know, in a program setting, like the PALs, those have like disappeared altogether. I think we should focus on trying to build our communities from the ground up. Sometimes you have to start at the beginning.
Thank you. Thank you, Shaniqua. Shaquana, do you want to share your thoughts on what specific intervention, program, change you feel would be the most helpful, the most beneficial to your family and others like yours?
I agree with both women as far as that. I also think that even with getting the programs, and because you do have really, really great programs as of LIFT, it's just advertisement is actually getting it out there, being put out there. We don't have the right advocacy. We don't have the right resources to put and push these programs out there. So if you don't know, they're not going to come. I think that that's really important, is to really actually get your hands dirty and get, you know, lace your boots up and actually get out and actually get in the communities and tell these people, like, listen, we have these programs, you know, and we want you guys to be a part of it. And not hide behind, you know, phones and cameras and stuff like that. So I think that that's really important as far as to be able to, you know, now we having new candidacies and the mayor that's, you know, new mayor that's in, to let him know that we, you know, to push these programs out there and to push the advocacy to be able to advertise for it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I know that we're wrapping up. I just wondered, for my own purposes, selfishly, and I know, again, we have to keep time really short. I just wanted to ask you if you could give to the audience one piece of advice that you've received from LIFT, one of the coaches, the mentors, something, it could be, you know, silly, it could be something that somebody watching says, man, that makes sense to me. Just one specific piece of advice. Doesn't have to be anything like, you know, sweeping, but just something small, something, whatever it is that you just said, it was funny and it just made a difference to you. Maybe somebody else can use that and take it with them today. So Blanca, lo que pedía solamente egoístamente, porque uno siempre quiere cosechar información y consejo, que usted pudiera, por favor, compartir algo súper breve, súper rapidito, un consejo de todo lo que ha recibido de parte de los líderes y guías de LIFT, uno pequeñito, sea por ser jocoso, por ser importante, pero uno que otra persona al escucharle piense algo para sí mismo y diga, ah, yo también puedo hacer eso. Ah, creo que está cortado.
Bueno, en primer lugar es tener ganas de hacer algo, porque si yo quiero hacer algo y quiero seguir adelante, yo voy a buscar el medio. Yo le diría a los padres que todavía tal vez les da, perdón que voy a expresar así, como una perecita, no quiero ir, estoy cansada, tengo mucho trabajo, que no sea excusa esa, porque cuando yo trabajaba, me iba sin comer, lo estoy honesta, me iba sin comer, llevaba mi snack ahí para mi hijo y para mí. Entonces, si tú quieres salir adelante, esfuérzate, porque nada llegas por sí solo. Si tú te esfuerzas, logras. Live, tiene las puertas abiertas, los guías están dispuestos para escucharte. A mí se me hacía cortita la hora cuando yo iba a que me escucharan. Entonces, hoy yo les digo a los padres, así como yo también anduve debajo del agua, debajo del sol con mi hijo. ¿Por qué? Porque yo quiero que mi hijo el día de mañana esté orgullosa de mí. Yo me siento orgullosa de él porque hoy me está sacando buenas notas y me siento muy orgullosa de mí porque he logrado muchas cosas. Y hoy les digo a todos los padres que no busquen excusas porque yo tengo que hacer esto, tengo que hacer lo otro. No, la televisión no te da nada, el internet no te da nada, Facebook no te da nada. No, deja su chat, tome su tiempo para sí misma.
Okay, so Blanca shares that part of the conversations that she's had at Lyft have essentially sort of brought into her own space and her own journey the directive to just not sit back, you know, don't, I mean, you know, she said, please excuse my frankness. She goes, don't be lazy. And that's not to say that you don't have your challenges, but when you have that sort of spark in you, that to drive yourself forward, to sort of risk that opportunity and don't just sit back and say, oh, well, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work, to give yourself, you know, that push, because Lyft will be there to help. There'll be other people, but it has to start with you. You have to be willing to kind of get maybe out of your own way. And that's what she was sharing. That's sort of an extension of the conversations that she's had at Lyft. I'm going to jump right to you, Shaniqua. What's something that you've heard in the years you've been going or really had transmitted to you that feels powerful?
Well, one of the most powerful things that a coach has told me that has stuck with me is don't give up on yourself. You are your best advocate. I love the way you advocate for yourself because sometimes you feel like there's no one there for you. So if there wasn't there for you, you have to be there for yourself. Not every time it's going to be right. It's going to be the way you want it, but don't give up. Never give up on yourself. Don't doubt yourself for a minute. You might have a bad day today, but guess what? As long as you're alive, tomorrow's a new day. So that's the most powerful thing that I've been told, that I am my own best advocate.
That's awesome. Thank you, Shaniqua. Shaquana, you're up. What's something that you've either heard from a coach, you know, had a conversation about that to you just resonates still today?
Yeah. You know, I laugh at it because every time me and my coach, we have our one-on-one, she's like, I'm excited because I know something else is going to happen with Shaquana. So, you know, she's like, oh, you know, she's excited to know what else am I going to bring to the table. She said, because you're always doing something, you're always accomplishing something. And, you know, she's always checking something off. But I would say one thing that we speak about and we talk about is to don't let your past define who you are. You know, don't let what you've been through dictate who you are becoming. It's just a stepping stone. And, you know, sometimes we seem like it's bad, but it'll get better.
Wow. Yes. Yeah, no, that's really tremendous. And obviously all of you have taken that to heart, your own individual advice and the collective wisdom that you guys have been able to share with us. So really simple. I know that, again, we're so out of like close to brushing up against time, but somebody did ask if you could, again, very simply and concisely share how you feel your children specifically have benefited from your journey. That would be something that would be helpful to everyone on the chat as well. So I'm going to go right to Blanca. Blanca, una de las preguntas que se ha hecho y le pido que también sea súper concisa, por favor, para que todas se puedan oír todas. ¿Cómo es que su hijo, usted piensa ha sido impactado de manera positiva por el programa de Lyft y su participación en ella?
Bueno, creo que él también se ha familiarizado porque el momento cuando él iba al Lyft de chiquito, él siempre ha reconocido a las demás personas. Yo creo que eso a él le va a servir también porque en el día de mañana él me dice, oh mamá, tú ibas al Lyft, mira, aquí están las personas del Lyft. Es un impacto para mi hijo, para que vea dónde estaba, porque mi hijo me va a reclamar a mí, ¿dónde tú andabas antes? Para que él vea que el ejemplo de su mamá, que hacía el sacrificio de irse, porque es un sacrificio todo en la vida. Nada es gratis, como dice, es gratis recibido, pero si es gratis, Aprovechalo. Mi hijo va a estar orgullosa hoy de mí, que aquí lo tengo a la par. Porque él siempre me pregunta, ¿por qué ya no va a salir? Y yo le digo, ya me gradué. Y yo creo que es impacto para él. Y dice, oh, ya terminaste, sí. ¿Y de qué te graduaste?
Yes.
Bueno, tengo mi diploma de que ya me gradué. Recibí mis cursos de inglés gracias a ellos. Creo que es el impacto muy importante para mi hijo, que vea el ejemplo de lo que he pasado yo, el
Claro.
transcurso que he pasado para él. Sí.
So Blanca's communicating that the immediacy of his experience, that the fact that he has been with her every step of the way, means that he has been witness to her progress, to the challenges, the conversations, and to the people that have been a part of her part. He recognizes them, he knows who they are, and he often will ask her, well, why are you not going back to Lyft? And she says, well, I graduated. And the fact that she's a graduate and has had that accomplishment also serves as inspiration for him. So he's been through this positive experience as a witness and as part of the testimony. And so for her, she's hopeful that that will mean that will serve as fuel and foundation for him as he moves through his own paths. So Shaniqua, what about you?
Well, for me, my son thinks that Lyft is my school. In a way, it is. When he goes there, he just knows that he has fun, he enjoys himself, and he doesn't really understand the fact that it's closed. He just knows he hasn't been there a while, but he does refer to Lyft as mommy's school. He's familiar with some people there, but also I've instilled in him things that necessarily I didn't get a chance to do with my older kids. So like things like money matters, how to spend, how to save, what money really means, to establish credit, to be a better person, things to do not only for yourself, but as a member of the community. I've looked in ways to volunteer with him, but for many of the organizations, you have to be 12 and over, so he's not actually able to participate. So we do little things in the neighborhood, like we give his old clothes to certain members of the community, to church, the food pantry. He has been very vocal about cutting his hair and giving it to another child that may be sick. So the things that I'm learning, I've instilled in him, and I would like to see him grow as a better person, having these things being taught to him early rather than have a problem later on. So I think that at this point, he's off to a good start. He knows how to save. He knows where to save it and why we're saving. So I think he'll benefit from it, not only presently, but long term.
Right. That's beautiful, Shaniqua. How old is he?
He's 6.
6. ¿Qué edad tiene el suyo, Blanca? ¿Su hijo?
En abril cumple 8.
8. Yeah. No, they were part of the conversation. So we owe them a little shout out too. So that is awesome. Shaquana, what about you?
Yes, like I said in the beginning, I have my daughter's 5, so 5, 10, and 15. So my children
Today's
are
her
5 years
birthday,
apart.
right?
Yes, today's her birthday. So
Right.
I have two boys, which is 10 and 15. And my children, I'm very transparent with my children. My children, see everything. So pretty much they've seen the struggles, they've seen what we've been through. But most importantly, from learning from me is to be resilient, to not give up on yourself, and to know that I take education very serious. So I'm a role model to them. And being a single mom, I push and I thrive that my children continue on doing something and being a part of not just school, but being a part of other things so you can be able to help someone. So my son, he is in a coding program, my 15-year-old. Yeah, he likes the computer, so he's in a coding program. I placed my 10-year-old, he's in 2 different basketball teams. And my daughter is in dance because she's now 5. So yeah, so I tried to.
That is so much running around for practices. That alone, that's just the practices right there. Wow.
Right. But because we were closed in through the pandemic and everything, that I given my children a choice. I made a choice that I wanted to get vaccinated because I felt like being in the field of social work, I wanted to be able to help. I wanted to be able to give back, and I could not do that in the comfort of my home. So I wanted to just say sacrifice myself in that word, but I wanted to be able to to do, not just think about myself, but be there for someone else. And I asked my children, they said, yeah, Ma, you know, we want to get vaccinated. It was a choice. I didn't force anything. It was something that they wanted to do because they wanted to have fun. And, you know, we have to deal with this, what somewhat is our normalcy now. So, yeah, that's what my children, it was just like, just letting them know that just be able to be a help to other people and not just ourselves.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you again. I mean, I know, again, I really appreciate the story that you're sharing, but I appreciate, and I know everyone on the chat does, the courage and the vulnerability. The risks are real, right? And we want to honor that. So muchísimas gracias, Blanca, por retarse, no solo en su programa, pero en esta conversación. No es fácil abrirse, ser vulnerable. En un grupo, aunque sea apoyador, es difícil. So really, even in a supportive setting, it's always difficult to kind of, you know, push back a little bit and open up. So thank you for that. And in closing, we're going to turn now to Siomara Romain.
Thank you so much, Deborah Lee. Again, thank you all for joining us. Shaniqua, Shaquana, Blanca, my heart is full.
Mm-hmm.
You gave us so much today. And, you know, this work is so hard. And sometimes it feels like the fight is just not fair. But, you know, you guys really brought home this idea that the fight is not over and that we all need to push forward and press on. So thank you tremendously for what you've been able to share with us today. Deborah Lee, thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy and your commitment to the community. I was just blown away by your facilitation today, and I hope that we can continue to work together. The Lift New York team, you guys did an amazing yeoman's job of pulling this off and bringing this vision to life. And so I want to thank, you know, Hannah, Pedro, Senna, Leah, Petra, all of the staff that worked on this. And I also want to thank the community partners and the donors and supporters, because without you, we would not be able to do this work. And so thank you for being committed to our mission. Thank you all to the attendees that have joined us. I hope that you all are inspired, but I also want you to know that inspiration without action is merely entertainment. And so we want you to act on your inspiration. Whatever you're feeling today, reach out, get involved, get connected. There's tons of ways that you guys can join this Lift community. And so we encourage you to do so today. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Blanca, muchísimas gracias por su paciencia. Gracias.
Sí, no, gracias a ustedes por la oportunidad. Gracias a todos.
Gracias.